Okay, we back on. Are we alive? We're alive. Okay. Um. Okay. A Seattle, a Seattle Council investigation. Hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. We had a little technical difficulties, but we back online. It's been a little minute. Let me just pick up. Give me a second to pick up where we left off. I don't want to be skipping around this book. We messed up. Okay. Okay. You know, start here. When the police come to a protest dressed like that, uh, with pepper spray, they had shields and all that. Okay. When police come to a protest dressed like that, armed and expecting confrontation, both police and protesters start to think that a confrontation is inevitable. That is why at the height of the often violent protests in the 1970s, Washington, D.C. Police Chief Jerry Wilson put cops in traditional police blues on the front lines, but kept his riot squad on buses parked on side streets, ready, but out of sight. Stamper says that he didn't have the luxury of keeping their cops clad in riot gear off to the side while putting on uniformed guys on front lines. He simply didn't have enough personnel to do both. It was a large event for the city of Seattle's size, but there were also reports that law enforcement officials, and there were at least a dozen agencies handling security at the conference, vastly overestimated the size of the protest. Again, an indication that over-preparation by the security planners may have given the cops who worked the event a distorted impression of what they were about to face, an impression that then became self-fulfilling. After all the training, the department give me 1 second. After the training the department had gone through was done and the event was just days away, Stamper writes, he, as a commander, was feeling confident. We got this sucker covered, he recalls thinking. But the cops themselves were less assured. They predicted the training. They loved the new equipment, Stamper writes, but they were convinced that the city was in for a real shitstorm. And that's what they got. Mid-morning on the first day, demonstrators surged into an intersection and took a seat, locking arms to form what Stamper called one massive knot of humanity. A police department field commander told them they'd be arrested. When they didn't move, he warned them again, and several more times. Then he hit them with gas. Despite the hours and hours of training, the cops lobbed the tear gas canisters behind the frontline protesters, giving them the option of either running into the plumbers of gas or surging into a line of police officers. That created chaos. By the time the first day turned to evening, Seattle Mayor Paul Schell had declared the state of emergency, imposed a curfew, and banned protests in and around the conference. He also made a crime to possess a gas mask, an order that almost certainly exceeded his authority and probably unconstitutional. Rioters and cops continued to clash. The next day, Washington Governor Gary Locke called the National Guard. A Seattle City Council investigation would later find that the police who handled the event were panic-stricken, driven by exaggerated crowd estimates and unfounded rumors. One such rumor, later determined to be untrue, was that protesters were tossing Molotov cocktails. The riots resulted in $20 million damage to local businesses, but even the vandals, looters, and anarchists never turned violent. There were no fatalities and fewer than 100 injuries. Okay. the most serious of which was a broken arm. In 2004, the city reached a financial settlement of 157 protesters who had been illegally arrested. And in 2007, a federal jury found that the city had violated Fourth Amendment rights of 170 more. Norm Stamper took responsibility for the disaster and resigned as Seattle police chief. Though he defended the decision to tear gas peaceful protesters in his 2005 book, he now says that he was wrong. In fact, he says it was the worst mistake of his career. I changed my mind during the book tour, Stamper says. After I had given talk in Seattle to promote the book, a guy who had been gassed at the protest in Seattle came up to me and said to me in a soft voice, "I had such hope, such respect for you, and I just lost it." I said, I just can't accept your explanation for why you use tear gas on nonviolent people. I just can't accept that. Stamper told the man they had just had to agree to disagree. But when the tour was over, he says he had begun to question his own rationale. I finally turned the corner shortly before a speech to an ACLU gathering at the University of Washington. I told the story, don't touch that though, baby. You come chill, pull up a seat, sit down. I told the story about protests, about the man who had come up to me during. I said the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was the worst professional mistake I had ever made. I didn't realize it, but the same guy was in the audience that night. He came up to me afterwards in tears. The Battle for Seattle is commonly considered the start of the modern anti-globalization movement. But it was also a landmark event in the way police and city officials react to protests. In spite of the fact that there were few injuries and no fatalities, the images that emerged from Seattle depicted a city that had lost control. Going forward, control will be the prevalent objective for police handling protests. In the year to come, the Darth Vader look will become the standard police presence at large protests. Cities and police officials would commit mass violations of city and constitutional rights and deal with the consequences later. There would be violent, preemptive, never heard of that word before, preemptive SWAT raids, mass arrests, and sweeping use of police powers that ensnared protesters, violent protesters, peaceful protesters, and people who had nothing to do with the protests at all. That's why Stamper calls this decision in Seattle the worst mistake of his career. He's seen how the police response to protests changed since 1999. We gas fellow Americans engaging in civil disobedience, Stamper says. We set a number of precedents, most of them bad, and police departments across the country learn all the wrong lessons from us. That is disheartening, so disheartening. I mean, you look at what happened over those Occupy protesters at UC Davis, where the cop just pepper sprays them down like he's watering a bed of flowers. And I think that we played the part in making that sort of thing so common, so easy to do now. It's beyond cringeworthy. I wish to hell my career ended on a happier note. Now I can sit up straight. The numbers. The number of SWAT raids conducted by the Minneapolis police in 1987, 36. The number of SWAT raids conducted by the Minneapolis police in 1996, over 700. The number of raids carried out by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms from 1993 to 1995, 523. Percentage of these ATF raids that used dynamic entry, 49%. Percentage of the ATF raids that turned up weapons of any kind, 18%. Appropriate number of paramilitary police raids in the United States in 1980, 3,000. Approximate number of paramilitary police raids in 1995, 30,000. Approximate number of paramilitary police raids in 2001, 45,000. Number of SWAT deployment in Orange County, Florida from 1993 to 97, 619. Percentage of those SWAT deployments undertaken to serve drug warrants, 94%. Number of police officers in the Tactical Operations Branch of Portland, Oregon Police Department in 1989, 2. Number of Portland police officers in the Tactical Operations Branch in 1994, 56. Percentage of police departments in cities of 100,000 or more that had a SWAT team in 1890. Number of police departments using tactical units for proactive patrol from 1982 to 1997, 292%. That's crazy. Okay. We going into a new chapter. What's going on, brother? Peace and love, man. We going into a new chapter. And that's my time. Give me 1 second. Brother Cho, we gonna have to jet up out of here in a little minute. If you ain't got,
You finished the chapter up?
Yeah, I finished the chapter. We coming into.
You not one of the chapters out.
Yes, sir, man. So,
So what you think about what you read?
it's crazy. So, like what I read earlier about the Columbine shootings and
Get a little closer to the
okay, about the Columbine shootings, Virginia Tech and all them other school shootings, that police was just standing idly by waiting till those terrorists, or not terrorists, just the school shooters came.
Oh yeah,
and did.
domestic terrorists. That's domestic terrorists.
Domestic terrorists. Okay, the domestic terrorists came in, did what the fuck they wanted to do, and ended it on their own terms. You know, police waited till they killed themselves, and that's just crazy. You know, because it's like a contradiction. What's the point of them even being there? I didn't even understand how crazy that was. I didn't know it was like that. You know.
What you think about the numbers at the end?
Just what you talking about?
Yeah, what you think about as you went through and
I noticed over the years things were spiking up. You know what I'm saying? For the worse. The number of SWAT raids conducted by Minneapolis police, 96 over 700. The numbers was just spiking up. You know what I'm saying? So this is crazy, and it's all new news to me. So, you know. But yeah, it's definitely mind blowing. But I know like it seemed like it's more important for them to properly come equipped and armed to the teeth for small time drug dealers. You know that got nickel and dime bags and shit like that, as opposed to saving a school full of kids being shot to death and shit. So that's crazy.
We gonna have Friday back for more. We gonna get more reading from him, more thought pattern, more of his thoughts on all of these things, man.
Oh yeah, you most definitely will, man. And you know, we need more people here engaging. For real, we need more people to come down here and read, or just you know, just tune in, man. Just tune in. I share this stuff on my page regularly. You know what's going down. Right now we in front of City Hall on East State between 1st and 2nd Street. Say their name square. You know what I'm saying? Just drive down East State. You really can't miss us. You know what I'm saying? So that's my time. You know what I'm saying? I'll be back. Peace and love. Love, bro.
Love, bro, for real. You already know. Yep, I'm gonna chop it up with you. I'm gonna end this right here real quick and then move around anyway. Okay, so we get into the end of the night. So you know I need a refreshing in the scenery. So I'm gonna get a new location. We're gonna get a new location. I'm gonna get a headache listening to these cars in this big street behind us.